Hey everybody, happy Thursday. It's Tim Kelly with your Nova Real Estate Scene, and I am joined today by a very special guest and a first-time guest, Steve
Ooh.
McIlvaine. Yes, yeah, finally got you on. How are you doing, Steve?
I'm doing great, Tim. How about you?
Doing very well. It's a nice, cool day, and I got outside a little bit today, so I'm in a good mood. And Steve, I have known you now. I was thinking about it earlier for 8 or 9 years, right? So it's been a long time that we've known each other and worked together. But this is your first time on one of the most
Frozen.
popular shows we have about the real estate scene here in Northern Virginia. So why don't you just take a moment to introduce yourself to the audience, tell them a little about who you are, what you do, and where you work.
Sure. Steve McIlvaine. I am from Philly originally, moved down to Northern Virginia in '01. Been down here ever since. Been married, have two, not been married. I am married to Sarah, and she's my business partner. She's been working with me, helping buyers for the last 3 years, and then providing a lot of other help over the years as been building this. I got
Hmm.
started in 2014.
Hmm.
Before that, I was in government contracting as a project manager, and then before that, I was in banking and was a banking relationship manager.
Great. And what got you into real estate back in 2014?
Good question. So, in the back in 2012 and 13 was the days of sequestration, and the government was freezing their rates that
Yeah.
with contracts, and I was one of the people that my rate was frozen. So I was getting good reviews, but I couldn't get any promotions. And one of my
Hmm.
coworkers, Scott, he had said to me, "Steve, I think you'd be a good realtor." And I thought, "Ooh, I don't know about that." And so, but that summer of 13, um, we were. Our family was growing. We had our second child, and it was really had to take a big inventory and say, could I really do this?
Yeah.
Because now we had another mouth to feed, and I, I just felt like God was calling me into it. And Sarah and I talked about it, and she gave me the green light. And so in February 14, I got started with Keller Williams in Falls Church, and have been with them ever since.
Yeah, you've been there, the entire time, and that's, pretty rare these days. But it is a great office, and there's a lot of great agents and camaraderie that you have there, and leadership and mentoring. So it's pretty good space to start your career, and ultimately it helps with your success that you've had in the years that you've been doing it. So you've seen.
I didn't even know. I didn't even know that it was 9 years until you get those LinkedIn announcements and they say,
Yeah.
"Hey, congratulations on your work anniversary," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's nine
Ti-
years! It's
yeah,
crazy."
time flies when you're having fun, right?
Yeah.
And it's like it's not just about like years, it's also like seasons, right? And so it's been nine, what, springs, summers, fall, and I feel like we've had a couple of years where there was no seasonality to the market, but now
Mm,
now it's back,
yes.
in some shape or form, right? And so, I mean, with your experience, I mean, what do you see going on right now in the housing market? Inventory is an issue, but what else? What's going on?
Yeah, I think that when we were coming out of the pandemic, I expected that we would revert back to 2019 levels
Right.
with inventory, with active listings, with pendings and solds. Well, we're below those numbers. And I think there's three main factors to it. One is obviously the rising interest rates as
Hmm.
the the Fed has been trying to curb inflation. Inflation's last year was at 8.5%. It's now, thankfully, about 4%. So it's getting
Hmm.
closer to the number where it needs to be. But in order to do that, we've seen just massive increases in the borrowing rate, which has affected mortgage rates. I think
Right.
there's a little bit of government uncertainty out there with, the talk of recession, talk about, where are we with the economy, and
Hmm.
also, when you think about it, sellers who refinanced in the last 2 years are sitting in 2.5, 3%
Yep.
interest rates in their houses.
Yeah.
And unless they're downsizing or there's a real emotional need, they're staying in their houses longer. So I think
Right.
those are some of the factors that are taking place right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, inventory has been the big issue for a while now, and how you navigate that. Do you have any special approach or recommendations you give buyers in this environment?
A lot of people, when we start talking to buyers, they know that it's a seller's market. Northern
Yeah.
Virginia has been a seller's market since '01, if not before, with the exception of 2007, 8, and 9, and a little
Hmm.
bit of 10. Other than that, it was a total seller's market. So buyers are conditioned to say, "I am going to have to go above asking price." And
Hmm.
we just had a conversation with one of our clients, and they said, "Hey, we want to know what to offer on this house before even seeing it." And what I had said to him, I said, "Look, there's a lot of things that we do in order to
Hmm.
advise you. Our hope is that you don't have to pay above asking price, that you
Sure.
don't have to give away the farm and waive the inspection and appraisal. We're going to try and keep that as much as possible for you. And
Hmm.
sometimes a great offer is well above asking price if it's a multiple offer situation. Other
Hmm.
times, like our clients Rummer and Zach, they got a house in Falls Church in an awesome neighborhood, Sleepy Hollow Woods. We got it
Hmm.
for under asking price, kept all the contingencies, and they were ecstatic. So
Yeah.
it's not a one size fits all. We
Right.
don't just think that the market is a seller's market. We're going to try and do what we can for our buyers.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach. I mean, it is, case by case. Right now, not every property is, having multiple offers and having to escalate and waive contingencies, and so, just to take a step back and approach each property differently is a good advice to give your buyers,
Yeah.
and in having them prepared, because like you said, I think people are expecting competition. They understand how this market is right now, and so they're a little bit more willing to, at least from the lending perspective, work with us and get their documents, get their file through underwriting and approved before they go
Right.
out and tour houses. Whereas before, if I were to ask someone for their pay stubs, they would kind of give me a hard time, and say
Mhm.
wait till they get under contract on a place. So I think the market has adjusted like it always does. There's always going to be people buying and selling homes, no
Yep.
matter what's going on or what the rate is. Because, like you said, life changes, your family size, your dynamic changes, your job change might relocate you to a different area or out of state. So, you work with sellers as well,
Yep.
and you've had some listings come up, and you've got some coming soon. I mean, what's your advice that you give to sellers right now?
Well, I think with sellers, you have to talk about the importance of making sure your house is in great condition. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one of the what I mean by that is you don't have to go and spend 70 to $80,000 to make your house in good condition, but
Yeah.
you want to make sure that the handyman comes through and fixes the things that need to be done. You look at the market and you say, okay, here's what the market is bearing, and this
Mm-hmm.
is what you need to do. Our hope is
Mm-hmm.
that the seller can spend the least amount to get the greatest return. I think that's
Sure.
one of our value propositions.
Okay.
Um, we had a listing in Mantua in Fairfax recently that last year we would have gotten 15 plus offers on the house. Now we got three offers and we got the escalation that we needed in order
Mm-hmm.
to bid up the price. But man, that was quite surprising that we just had only three offers in one of the
Mm-hmm.
most desired school pyramids in entire Fairfax County.
Sure.
That type of information needs to be communicated to sellers because you want to tell them the truth up front and not
Mm-hmm.
surprise them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's I'm maybe a rare approach, and that's the thing that I like about you most is that you are very transparent and honest with your clients. You're not pushing people into a transaction or accepting a transaction that perhaps is the best for that client or their family. So I think that's great that you are doing that. We've seen a lot of situations where people. I mean, I think there's even articles out there where the last year or so people had so much regret after buying a home.
Right.
And I think because they just got like you know kind of pushed into it maybe before they're ready. They didn't they thought they needed to waive the home inspection and all these other contingencies where perhaps it wasn't always the case. So again, taking it property by property, and setting the right expectations with your sellers, I think is really some ground to
Well,
stand on for you.
yeah, and I also think, Tim, that we made a decision at the very beginning of this business that we are going to operate it with the highest level of integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And what that always means is we're going to focus on the relationship and not the transaction. And
Yeah.
so if there's a buyer that really wants a house and I don't think it's a good fit for them because I understood what they're looking for,
Mm-hmm.
they hired me to be not only a salesperson and get them to closing, but to be their
Mm-hmm.
consultant.
Mm-hmm.
And so giving them the honest treatment up front really matters. And that
Yeah.
5,
No, that.
7 years from now is a
Yeah.
time when you're in it long term.
Oh, absolutely. And you do have clients for life, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, do you mind like sharing? Like, I mean, you do a lot of client appreciation events and other things like you want to talk about that briefly before we get into Camelot and Strathmeade, if you're still with us and we're streaming and could be again the lovely Kelly household having many devices connected to the internet. There you are. I think you're coming back from the stream graveyard. But I'll kind of speak from my experience again, having worked with Steve for 9 years. If I am live and still talking, there we go. So you're still here. There we go. We're caught up on the lag there, Steve.
We'll figure this out. But you were asking about client appreciation events. So yeah, we do believe in that. And actually, last weekend we did a wine tasting at our house, and we had about 90 people that showed up, and it was a mix of current clients, past clients. It was um, people in the neighborhood, people in the community. We just had a really great time. So we do other events throughout the year. We do sporting events and fall festival as well as movie events. So yeah, what we believe is that we want to serve our clients with excellence before, during, and after every real estate transaction. And one of the ways after a real estate transaction is staying in touch and loving on them and letting them know that we care. Uh, so you asked about the neighborhoods. So I live in Annandale, Western Annandale, if there is such a thing, right on the Fairfax border. And there's two neighborhoods that I am intrigued by and have had success in these neighborhoods. One of them is Strathmeade Square. Strathmeade Square is a townhouse community, and it has about 300 plus townhomes. Um, the median home price for these townhomes in 2023 has been 550,000. It's been a little flat this year compared to last year after a huge increase in 2021 to 22, up 12%. This year there's been 3 sales. Last year, 6 sales, which is kind of indicative of what we have been seeing across the DC footprint. Less inventory, less sales. Um, there's 2 houses that are pending. One for 435,000 that Tim, quite honestly, Sarah and I were actually seriously considering jumping on, and we didn't get there in time. And then another one at 585. So very interesting spread of
Yeah.
150,000 when the condition of the 2 homes wasn't that tremendously different. So for someone that 435,000, they could flip or do a buy hold and maybe have a good investment opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
The average days on market is 21, which is up from previous years. And the what I love about Strathmeade Square, first of all, it's in walking distance of Inova Fairfax Hospital. You can actually walk out the door, um, or sorry, not yeah, it's in walking distance of Inova Hospital. You walk out the back side, and you can see Inova, and so they're well built brick townhomes. It's near Eakin Park and Lake Akating Trail. See people running and biking there all the time and walking. It's really convenient to Tyson's, and they have a neighborhood pool, and it's near the Beltway and Gallows Road and 495. So that's a cool neighborhood. And then the other one is Camelot. And
Hmm.
Camelot, this is uh, the adjoining neighborhood to where we live, and there's 350 houses in there. One house is on the market right now. It's a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath Cape Cod with a pool on just over a third of an acre. And the median home price in Camelot is uh, pretty consistent, up 4%, 6% year over year, except for this year. And so what we saw this year is flat prices, and that's what that's just kind of what is going on out there. The highest priced home is $1,050,000 this year, and the average days on market is 14. We're seeing houses go for about a 1.5% above asking price. So what do I love about this pool? First of all, when we were looking at community pools for our kids, we looked at Mantua Pool and Wakefield Forest, and what we loved about Camelot was the kids could ride their bikes there. And I was actually pool president for a couple of years, as well as treasurer of the pool. So love serving, and although I'm very glad, Tim, to be off the pool and just be able to just unwind at the pool, drink a beer, and have fun.
Yeah.
But they have winding streets, a lot of different architectures in that neighborhood. They've got uh, what do you call it? The Dutch colonials, as well as colonials. You've got Cape Cods, you've got ranchers. You've just got all sorts of cool architecture.
Hmm.
It's convenient, just like Strathmeade Square. The trail, the Lake Akating Trail, is in the neighborhood. I'm pretty impressed with how friendly the community is and how active the community association is. They even have awards, Tim, for homes with the best holiday lights. And Camelot neighborhood, or Camelot Elementary School, is in the neighborhood, and I mean, goodness, every street is named after the Sir Lancelot, or Lancelot and Camelot and Sir
Hmm.
Gawain, like Gawain and Merlin. It's pretty fun. So, and even at the entrance to the neighborhood, they have the entrance like you're going into King Arthur's round table. So that's the neighborhood, the two neighborhoods that I wanted to focus in on.
Good. Can you hear me yet?
I cannot hear you. Gosh,
Um,
why? Okay, so people can find me. Our website is mhtsells.com. Stands for McIlvaine Home Team, cells.com. Phone number is 202 359 2483. Sarah's number is 703-282-4573. And our emails are Steve at MHTcells and Sarah at MHTcells.com. We service all of Northern Virginia and DC. And again, it's just about the relationship, Tim.
mhm.
Glad you connected me. I'm sure we'll work through these technical difficulties, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, of course. And, I'm hopefully if people are watching, they can at least hear me. And I'll just say that if you're buying anywhere in Northern Virginia, do yourself a favor and, reach out to Steve. He will take excellent care of you, especially if you are looking in those neighborhoods that he knows so well. So, Steve, I appreciate you coming on as always. We will do this again, and I will figure out what happened with the internet here in our house. But I appreciate you. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one.